Welcome to Nightfall Horrors 002. I was working late night in rural Missouri, dropping off packages through empty highways and dead forest roads, the usual quiet run I'd done 100 times before. But that night, I got rerouted to a place called Hollow Creek Road, an area other drivers refused to talk about. No houses, no signal, no record of any delivery stop there. Just a package with no name on it and instructions that didn't come from my company. And the moment I stopped my van at the coordinates, my phone lit up with a message that made my stomach drop. If you're seeing this road, don't look into the trees, because something was already moving out there, and it wasn't staying hidden for long.
I never told this story publicly, because even now, 3 years later, I still can't explain what happened. My name is Tyler, and back then I was 26 years old, working long hours as a delivery driver in southern Missouri. It wasn't a glamorous job, but it paid the bills. Most nights were routine: drop off packages, follow the GPS, avoid deer on dark roads, and get home before midnight. This happened during late October, the kind of night where cold fog hangs low over empty fields and every road looks abandoned. I was finishing my shift around 9:30 p.m. when a last-minute delivery appeared on my route. Normally, drivers could reject late additions, but I had already accepted it before noticing the address. Hollow Creek Road. The name sounded familiar, not because I'd been there before, because I'd heard other drivers complain about it. One guy said his GPS stopped working out there. Another claimed someone kept standing near the road every time he drove through, no matter what time of night. Most of us laughed it off. Rural roads were full of weird rumors. Still, I remember feeling uneasy when I saw the location. The route took me farther away from town than I usually traveled. Streetlights disappeared one by one until the only illumination came from my headlights. The road narrowed. Trees crowded both sides. My phone signal dropped to a single bar. About 20 minutes later, I reached the address, or at least where the GPS said the address should be. But there was no house, no mailbox, no driveway, nothing. Just dense woods and an old gravel pull-off beside the road. I checked the package label again. Same address, same coordinates. I sat there for a moment, staring through the windshield. The fog was thick enough that my high beams seemed to vanish into it. Then my phone vibrated. A new message had appeared from the delivery customer. There was no greeting, no instructions, just one sentence. If you're already here, don't look into the trees. And before I could process what I was reading, something moved between the trunks on my right. For a few seconds, I just sat there staring at the message. If you're already here, don't look into the trees. My first thought was that somebody was messing with me, maybe a prank, maybe some bored teenager who figured out how to send strange instructions to delivery drivers. But then I remembered the movement. I slowly turned my head toward the passenger side window. The woods were dark, too dark. The fog drifted between the trees like smoke, making it impossible to see more than 20 or 30 feet into the forest. At first, I didn't notice anything. Then I saw it, a shape, standing perfectly still between two trees, far enough away that I couldn't make out details, close enough that I knew it was a person. My stomach tightened. I grabbed my flashlight from the center console and pointed it through the glass. The beam hit the trees. The figure was gone, just gone. No sound, no movement, nothing. I opened my door and stepped out. The cold air hit me immediately. The silence was worse.
Out there, away from town, there were no passing cars, no distant traffic, no houses, not even insects. The entire area felt unnaturally quiet. I looked down at the package. It was a plain brown box, no company logo, no fragile stickers, nothing unusual. Except for one thing. There was no recipient name, only the address. I had never seen that before. Every package had a name attached, every single one. I pulled out my phone and tried calling dispatch. No signal. I walked a few feet down the gravel shoulder, hoping reception might return. Nothing. As I turned back toward my van, something caught my attention. Fresh footprints. They hadn't been there when I parked. At least, I didn't think they had. The prints emerged from the woods, crossed the gravel, and stopped directly beside the driver's door. I froze. The footprints were deep, as if whoever made them had been standing there for several minutes, watching me. I slowly lifted my flashlight and followed the tracks back toward the trees. The beam disappeared into the fog. Then I heard it, a voice, faint, barely above a whisper, somewhere inside the woods. "Don't leave it there." I spun around. The road behind me was empty. The voice hadn't come from there. It had come from inside the forest. Then the whisper came again, closer this time, and it sounded like more than one person speaking at once. "Don't leave it there." At that exact moment, my delivery app refreshed. A new instruction appeared beneath the address. "Bring the package to the red light." And for the first time, I noticed a dim crimson glow flickering deep between the trees.
I should have left. Looking back now, that's the part that keeps replaying in my head. I should have gotten back in the van, marked the delivery as undeliverable, and driven away. Instead, I stood there staring at that faint red glow between the trees. It was far enough away that I couldn't tell what it was. A flashlight, a lantern, maybe even the reflection of some distant vehicle. But it definitely wasn't natural. And somehow that made me curious. The package felt heavier than before as I tucked it under one arm and aimed my flashlight toward the woods. The red light flickered, then steadied, almost like it was waiting. I took a few steps off the road. The ground was damp and uneven beneath my boots. Dead leaves crunched softly with every movement. Behind me, my delivery van suddenly looked very far away. Its headlights were little more than pale beams cutting through the fog. I stopped. Every instinct in my body told me to turn around. That's when my phone vibrated again. Another message. No number, no name, just text. "Hurry." I looked up. The red light seemed closer now. That didn't make sense. I hadn't moved. Yet somehow the glow appeared larger, brighter, as if it had shifted toward me. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Then I heard footsteps. Not in front of me, behind me. Slow. Crunch, crunch, crunch. I spun around. Nothing. Just fog, trees, silence. My flashlight swept across the woods. No person, no animal, no movement. But the footsteps had been real. I knew what I heard. I backed away toward the road. The footsteps started again. Crunch, 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 matching my pace. Whenever I stopped, they stopped. Whenever I moved, they moved. Always somewhere behind the fog, never revealing themselves. My pulse hammered in my ears. I started walking faster. The unseen footsteps did too. Then a new sound emerged from deeper in the forest. Voices, several of them, whispering, too distant to understand, yet somehow synchronized, as if multiple people were repeating the same sentence together. The hairs on my arms stood up. I turned off my flashlight for a moment. The instant the beam disappeared, the red glow became clearer, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The light wasn't hanging from a tree. It wasn't a lantern. It wasn't a vehicle. It was sitting inside a small structure, a wooden building hidden among the trees. A building that wasn't shown on any map. A building with a single red-lit window. And standing in front of that window was a person, motionless, watching me. Then my phone vibrated one more time. The screen displayed a new message, a message that had supposedly been sent 37 years earlier. If you can see the red window, you're already too close.
37 years earlier. That message didn't make any sense. I stared at my phone like it had just turned into something else entirely. No signal, no internet, yet somehow messages were still coming through. Messages that shouldn't even be possible. From inside the woods, the red-lit window kept glowing, and the figure standing in front of it hadn't moved an inch. I tried to convince myself it was just a trick of distance, fog distortion, my mind filling in blanks. But then the figure raised its hand, slowly, and pointed directly at me. My throat went dry. I backed up a step, then another, trying not to take my eyes off the structure. That's when I realized something worse. There wasn't just one building. There were more shapes behind it, half hidden in the fog. Smaller structures, lean-tos, something like sheds or old cabins arranged in a loose pattern through the trees. Like a settlement, but not abandoned, occupied. My phone vibrated again. This time, I almost didn't look. You crossed the line. Don't turn around. That message alone made my entire body lock up, because I hadn't heard anything behind me in almost a full minute. No footsteps, no movement, nothing. And silence out here wasn't normal silence anymore. It felt staged, like the woods were holding their breath. I forced myself to keep facing the red window. "Okay," I whispered under my breath. "Okay, just back up, slow." One step, then another. The moment my heel touched gravel again, I felt it. A shift in the air behind me. Not sound, not movement, just awareness. Like something had finally decided I was worth noticing. The red-lit figure in the window suddenly moved again. Not toward me, toward the door inside the building, as if it was going inside or coming out. I couldn't tell which was worse. Then my phone buzzed so violently it almost slipped from my hand. No message this time, just an incoming call. Unknown number, but the caller ID wasn't blank. It had a label. Hollow Creek Route, active. My stomach dropped, because that wasn't a contact. That was my internal delivery system, the one only dispatch and drivers could see. I didn't answer. I couldn't, but the phone kept ringing anyway. And then, from the direction of the road behind me, where my van was parked, I heard something I will never forget. My own delivery van door closing. Slowly. from the outside.
I almost stopped the video here because what appears next isn't human. Nahid Hassan kept saying one thing. It's standing right behind me. If you're still watching, subscribe to Nightfall 002.
I swear on everything, I saw the tree line shift. Not wind, not illusion, the entire edge of the forest advanced one step closer to the road, like the woods themselves were breathing in. My legs finally started moving before my mind caught up. I backed up hard, almost stumbling over the package I had dropped on the gravel. The red glow behind me intensified, washing the trees in a deep, unnatural crimson. And my van, my actual van, was still sitting there with someone inside it, wearing my jacket, sitting like me, perfectly still. The radio continued to hiss with static. Return to sender. That phrase kept repeating like a broken loop. I couldn't think straight. Every instinct was screaming at me to run to the van, but something else, something stronger, kept pulling my attention back toward the woods. Because now the red-lit building wasn't just glowing, it was open. The door had swung wide, and there were people standing inside, not rushing, not shouting, just watching. One by one, they began stepping out, slowly, carefully, like they had all the time in the world. I couldn't see their faces clearly through the fog, but I could tell there were at least 5, maybe more. All of them facing me, all of them moving in perfect sync. Then my phone vibrated again in my hand. I almost dropped it when I saw the message. You delivered it to the wrong place. My mouth went dry. What? I whispered out loud. The package. I looked down at it on the ground. For the first time, I noticed something that hadn't been there before. A faint red line across the cardboard, like it had been sealed with light instead of tape. And the line was slowly opening, like it was being unsealed from the inside. From the woods, one of the figures raised its hand again, but this time it wasn't pointing at me, it was pointing at the package, and my van's radio suddenly stopped. Dead silence. Then, from inside the vehicle, my own voice came through the speaker, calm, perfectly calm. I'm already here. The driver's seat inside my van slowly turned toward me, and the figure wearing my jacket smiled. That smile in my van wasn't normal. It didn't look like a human reaction. It looked like something practicing what a smile was supposed to look like. My body went cold. I stepped back again, putting more distance between me and the gravel road, but now I was trapped between 2 things I couldn't understand, the woods in front of me and the imitation of me behind me. The red-lit group had moved closer, not running, not rushing, just closing distance in a steady, coordinated way, like they already knew exactly where I would go. I glanced down at the package again. The red seam across it had widened. It wasn't tearing like paper. It was unfolding like a door. Inside it, there was darkness that didn't reflect light properly, like the inside was deeper than the box itself. My phone buzzed again. Do not let them complete the return. I swallowed hard. What? I whispered. From the van, my voice spoke again through the radio, calm and wrong. You already accepted the route.
I looked up at the driver's seat. The figure wearing my jacket was now leaning slightly forward, watching me like it was studying how I moved. Then it lifted one hand and tapped the windshield from inside. Once, twice, like knocking. But I was still standing outside. I hadn't moved, so why did it feel like it was signaling me? Behind me, the woods shifted again, not moving forward this time, expanding, widening, like the forest wasn't just surrounding the road anymore, it was expanding the road into it. And then I heard footsteps again, but not behind me, not ahead of me, all around, every direction at once, slow, measured, closing in. The red-lit group was now only about 20 feet away, close enough that I could start to see outlines, long coats, pale faces, heads slightly tilted the same way. But the worst part, none of them had looked away from me once. Then one of them spoke, not loudly, just enough for me to hear through the fog. "You brought it back." And every single one of them repeated it after him in perfect unison. "You brought it back." My hand started shaking because the package on the ground was now humming softly, like something inside it was waking up. And from inside my van, my voice whispered through the radio one last time. "Now it's yours again." The package seam snapped open completely. The moment the seam snapped open, the sound wasn't like cardboard tearing. It was more like reality itself briefly giving way. A low-pressure wave rolled out from the box. My ears popped, my vision blurred for half a second, like the air around me had changed density. I stumbled back instinctively. And that's when I saw inside. At first, I thought it was empty, just darkness. But then the darkness shifted, not like light hitting an object, like something inside noticing me noticing it. The red-lit group stopped moving all at once, perfect synchronization, like they were waiting for a signal. From the van, the figure wearing my jacket slowly leaned forward again, this time closer to the windshield. Its face was still mine, but not exactly. The proportions were wrong in a way I couldn't immediately explain, like it had been reconstructed from memory instead of observation. It mouthed something silently. I couldn't hear it, but I understood it anyway. "Open it fully." My phone buzzed violently. A new message appeared. "You are the return point." My legs nearly gave out. "What does that even mean?" I said under my breath. Behind me, the box began to change shape. The edges weren't staying rectangular anymore. They were bending inward, like gravity inside it had reversed. Then I heard a sound come from inside the box. Breathing. Slow, patient, alive. The red group in the woods all tilted their heads at the same time, and for the first time they all stepped backwards, not toward me, away from the box, like they were afraid of what was inside it finally being opened properly. From the van, my voice spoke again, but now it was softer, almost relieved. Finally. The windshield fogged up from the inside, and I realized something terrifying. The figure in my van wasn't looking at me anymore. It was looking past me, at something standing directly behind me that I hadn't turned around to see yet. Something that had been there the entire time, waiting for the box to open. And then a voice right behind my ear whispered, "Welcome back."
The moment the seam snapped open, the sound wasn't like cardboard tearing. It was more like reality itself briefly giving way.
A low pressure wave rolled out from the box. My ears popped, my vision blurred for half a second, like the air around me had changed density. I stumbled back instinctively, and that's when I saw inside. At first, I thought it was empty, just darkness. But then the darkness shifted. Not like light hitting an object, like something inside noticing me, noticing it. The red-lit group stopped moving all at once, perfect synchronization, like they were waiting for a signal. From the van, the figure wearing my jacket slowly leaned forward again, this time closer to the windshield. Its face was still mine, but not exactly. The proportions were wrong in a way I couldn't immediately explain, like it had been reconstructed from memory instead of observation. It mouthed something silently. I couldn't hear it, but I understood it anyway. Open it fully. My phone buzzed violently. A new message appeared. You are the return point. My legs nearly gave out. What does that even mean? I said under my breath. Behind me, the box began to change shape. The edges weren't staying rectangular anymore. They were bending inward, like gravity inside it had reversed. Then I heard a sound come from inside the box. Breathing. Slow. Patient. Alive. The red group in the woods all tilted their heads at the same time, and for the first time they all stepped backward. Not toward me, away from the box, like they were afraid of what was inside it finally being opened properly. From the van, my voice spoke again, but now it was softer, almost relieved. Finally. The windshield fogged up from the inside, and I realized something terrifying. The figure in my van wasn't looking at me anymore. It was looking past me, at something standing directly behind me that I hadn't turned around to see yet. Something that had been there the entire time, waiting for the box to open. And then a voice right behind my ear whispered, "Welcome back."
I didn't turn around right away. That's the part I still don't understand about myself. My body wanted to run, scream, collapse, anything except stand still. But I stayed frozen, like my brain refused to accept what behind me even meant anymore. The whisper was still there in my ear, not fading, not echoing, just present. Welcome back. The box on the ground kept shifting shape, like something inside it was pushing outward but couldn't fully cross over yet. The red-lit group had completely stopped moving now. They were standing in a loose semicircle, all of them angled slightly away from me, like they were watching something I couldn't see. My van's engine clicked once, then died again. No movement from inside, no radio, just silence, which somehow felt worse than everything before it. Then my phone vibrated again. One new message. Do not acknowledge it. My throat tightened. Don't acknowledge what? I whispered. The moment I said it, the temperature around me dropped. Not weather cold, something deeper, like the air itself had been drained of warmth. The thing behind me shifted. Not footsteps, not sound, just presence adjusting position. Closer. My eyes locked on the open box without meaning to. Inside it, the darkness wasn't empty anymore. There was shape forming, not fully visible, but recognizable in the worst possible way. like a human silhouette being assembled from memory errors. From the van, my voice suddenly changed tone, no longer calm, now urgent. Don't let it synchronize. The word synchronize made something in my chest tighten painfully, because at the exact same moment, every single person in the red-lit group took one step forward, perfectly in sync. And behind me, the whisper again, but this time it didn't use my ear, it used my voice. Too late. The box opened wider on its own, and everything around me started aligning.
This video is over, but the story isn't, because Nahid Hassan was never found. And if your phone turns on by itself tonight, just know you've been chosen. Subscribe to Nightfall Horrors 002, because you're not safe anymore.
The word alignment is the only way I can describe what started happening next. But even that feels too clean, too simple. It wasn't just movement, it was everything deciding it should agree on a single version of reality. The box on the ground stopped shifting. It stabilized, like whatever was inside had finally found the correct shape. My vision started to blur again, but this time not from fear or panic. It was like the world itself was trying to refocus. The red-lit group all turned their heads slightly toward me at the exact same angle. Not random, identical, like copies of the same motion. From my van, the driver's seat figure slowly leaned back, and for the first time, it stopped pretending to be calm. Its head tilted, and I saw something behind its face that didn't belong to any human structure. Not gore, not monster, just missing information where identity should be. My phone vibrated again. Stop looking at variations of yourself. My breath caught. Variations. That word made my stomach drop because suddenly everything started to feel connected in a way I didn't want to understand. The thing behind me moved again, closer, and now I could hear it breathing in sync with me. In, out, in, out, like it was learning my rhythm. The box began to hum louder. The sound wasn't mechanical, it was biological, like something inside it was remembering how to exist. The red-lit group began to walk again, not toward me, toward the box. All at once, no hesitation. From my van, my voice suddenly screamed through the radio. "Don't let it complete the body!" The transmission cut out. Static exploded through the speakers. And then every single light source around me, the van headlights, the red window, even my phone screen flickered at the same time. One synchronized pulse. And in that exact moment, I finally turned my head slightly, just enough to see it, standing behind me. Not fully formed, not fully real, but unmistakably me. Except it wasn't copying me anymore. It was finishing me. And it smiled again, like it finally understood what I was for. When I saw it fully, my brain tried to reject the image, like it refused to store it. But it was there anyway. Standing behind me was me, but not like the thing in the van, not like a reflection, not like a copy. This one felt stable, like it had been here longer than I had. Its clothes were slightly wrong in ways I couldn't immediately explain. The fabric looked familiar, but aged differently, like it had lived through years I never experienced. Its eyes were locked on the open box. Not me, the box. And it looked relieved, The red-lit group stopped again, all of them. Even the ones closest to the box froze mid-step like someone had pressed pause on a recording. The hum from inside the box grew deeper, heavier. My phone vibrated violently in my hand again. "You are the interruption," I whispered without meaning to. What does that mean? The version of me behind me finally spoke. Its voice was identical to mine, but calmer, more certain. "You weren't supposed to leave." That sentence hit harder than anything before it, because it wasn't threatening. It was factual, like it was describing a mistake that had already been measured and confirmed. From the van, the figure suddenly slammed both hands against the windshield. But there was no sound of impact, just a visual distortion, like reality itself absorbed the hit. And then, the radio turned on again by itself. My voice, distorted, overlapping with static, spoke rapidly. "It's not one return system, it's multiple iterations." The transmission cut off mid-sentence. The box on the ground shifted again, and this time, something began rising out of it. Not fully visible, but enough. A shape that wasn't trying to become a monster. It was trying to become complete. And the version of me behind me took one step forward. Not toward me, toward it. And said something I will never forget. Finally, it remembers both of us. The moment those words finished, everything around us synchronized again. But this time, I felt my own body start to lag behind it, like I wasn't updating fast enough anymore. The moment everything synchronized again, it felt like my body stopped belonging to the same timeline as everything else. My heartbeat didn't match the sound of the world. My breathing felt delayed, like it was arriving half a second after I actually inhaled. The version of me standing behind me didn't seem affected at all. It was perfectly aligned. So was the thing in the van. So was the red-lit group. All of them moved like they were sharing the same invisible rhythm. But I wasn't in it anymore. I was offbeat. Incorrect. The box on the ground was now fully open, and whatever was inside was rising higher, still not fully formed, but closer to coherence with every passing second. It didn't look like a creature. It looked like an outline of something trying to become consistent across multiple realities at once. My phone buzzed again. "You are losing coherence." I almost laughed when I read it, because that was exactly how it felt, like I was dissolving into background noise. From the van, my voice spoke again, but now it was layered, two versions of it overlapping. "If he breaks sync, reset will fail." The sentence cut off as the radio cracked loudly. The windshield of the van suddenly fogged completely from the inside, hiding the figure wearing my face. The red-lit group began walking again, but now they weren't approaching the box. They were forming a circle around me. Slowly, methodically. No urgency anymore. Just procedure. The version of me behind me stepped closer for the first time. I felt its presence right at my shoulder, and it whispered, "You're the leftover version." My stomach dropped. Leftover. Like I was what remained when everything else aligned correctly. The box on the ground rose higher, and I realized something horrifying. It wasn't finishing itself. It was finishing everything else around it. My van's headlights flickered once, and in that split second of darkness, I saw something impossible. All three versions of me, in the van, behind me, and standing at my shoulder, were all looking at the same thing inside the box. And for the first time, I saw it too. Not fully formed, but recognizable enough to destroy my understanding of myself. It wasn't just taking shape. It was selecting which version of me was allowed to exist. And the circle around me, tightened. The circle didn't feel like it was closing in. It felt like it had already decided the exact distance it was supposed to be at. Perfect geometry, perfect pressure, perfect containment. The red-lit group stood evenly spaced around me now, each one angled inward like they were observing a final procedure rather than a person. No breathing sounds, no footsteps, just stillness with intent behind it. My body still wasn't syncing properly. Every movement I tried to make felt like it had to pass through something before the world would accept it. Like I was lagging behind reality itself. The version of me behind me leaned in slightly, close enough now that I could feel its breath. Except it wasn't warm. It felt neutral, like temperature had been removed from it. "You were never stable," it said calmly. From the van, my other self tapped the inside of the windshield again. 3 slow knocks, like a signal being confirmed. The radio clicked on without warning. My voice again, but fractured, overlapping. Final iteration selecting. A burst of static, then silence. The box on the ground emitted a deep, steady tone now. Not a hum, not a vibration, a tone, pure and structured. It made my teeth ache. Inside it, the shape had become clearer. Still not fully visible, but now it had presence in a way that felt intentional, like it was aware of how it was being perceived and adjusting itself accordingly. The red-lit group began speaking again, all at once, not loudly, just enough to fill the space around me. Return condition not met. Return condition not met. Return condition not met. Over and over, like a verdict being repeated until it became truth. My phone buzzed one last time. The message was different. No instruction, no warning, just a confirmation. Only one version will remain. My throat tightened because I finally understood what return meant. It wasn't about the package. It wasn't about the delivery. It was about me. All 3 versions of me shifted slightly at the same time. The version behind me spoke first. "I am the continuity." The one in the van spoke immediately after. "I am the recovery." Then both of them turned toward me and said together, "You are the error." The box began to open further, and the selection started.
When the box opened wider, it didn't feel like something physical was expanding anymore. It felt like attention itself was widening, like something inside had finally decided it could see everything at once. The tone coming from the box deepened again, vibrating through my chest instead of my ears. My knees almost buckled. The red-lit group didn't move, but their posture changed slightly, like they were bracing for an outcome they already knew was inevitable. The version of me behind me stepped fully into my peripheral vision now. I could see its face clearly. Still mine, still wrong in subtle, irreversible ways. It didn't look angry. It looked patient. From the van, my other self leaned forward so far it almost touched the windshield from the inside. The glass fogged instantly around its breath, and for the first time, all 3 of us spoke without delay between us. 3 voices, 1 sentence. This is the selection point. The box emitted a sharp pulse of light, not outward, inward, like it was pulling perception into itself instead of projecting anything out. And suddenly, I saw it.
not as a creature, not as a shape, but as a system, a collapsing loop of identities trying to resolve into a single stable version. And I was the unstable fragment keeping it from finishing. My phone screen cracked without being touched. A final message appeared anyway. Choose who continues. My breath stopped. I don't get a choice, I whispered. But the version of me behind me placed a hand gently on my shoulder, almost reassuring. It said, "You always had one." The van version spoke next, voice calm but absolute. Only one iteration can anchor the return. The red-lit group took a synchronized step backward for the first time, not toward me, not toward the box, away from the center entirely, like even they didn't want to be present for what came next. The box began to rise slightly off the ground, and inside it, all three versions of me felt the same pull, a single direction, a single identity trying to assert dominance. My vision blurred again, and I realized the selection wasn't being made by me. It was being made by the box, and it was already deciding which version of me
thing I
had
clearly
been real
remember
all along.
was the silence right before it finished. Not a peaceful silence, a decision-making silence, like the entire world had paused to confirm an outcome. The box wasn't glowing anymore. It wasn't vibrating. It was simply open. And everything around me, every version of me, every figure, every light in the woods was holding in place like they were waiting for a final instruction that didn't need language. The version of me behind me spoke softly, no longer urgent, no longer afraid, just certain. I won't be the one that disappears. From the van, my other self answered immediately. I already stabilized the system. Then both of them looked at me, not aggressively, not violently, but like I was already understood as the variable that could not remain. The red-lit group had completely stopped moving. Some of them had even turned slightly away, as if their role in this was finished. Then the box made a sound I can only describe as recognition. Not activation, not transformation, recognition. And I felt it choose, not with words, not with sight, but with absolute certainty that hit my entire body at once. My knees gave out. I dropped to the gravel. And in that moment, I saw everything clearly for the first time. The van version of me wasn't an imposter. The one behind me wasn't a copy. They were continuations, outcomes, versions that had already been accepted by the system long before I ever arrived at Hollow Creek Road. I was the one that diverged, the unstable branch, the leftover consciousness that shouldn't have made it this far. The box didn't kill anything, it corrected it. The red-lit group began to walk backward into the trees, one by one, dissolving into the fog like their job was complete. The van engine turned on by itself, the driver door closed, and I saw him, me, inside it. He didn't look at me, he just drove away. No hesitation, no final glance, like I was never part of his route. The version of me behind me stepped closer one last time, and for a moment I thought it might speak again, but instead it simply said, "Thank you for returning it." Then it turned and walked into the woods with the red-lit group, leaving me alone completely. The box slowly lowered back to the ground, still open, still waiting, and I realized the most disturbing part of all. I wasn't being taken. I wasn't being erased. I was being left outside the system. The road behind me still existed. My phone still had power. The world still functioned. But something fundamental had been removed from me. A kind of place in reality that everyone else apparently had. As I stood there, alone on Hollow Creek Road, my phone buzzed one final time. No sender, no system label, just a single line. Next delivery is already assigned. And beneath it, a map opened automatically, showing my exact location, and another drop pin appearing just behind me, waiting.